Previously on One Piece. The Battle of Totland is nearing its climax at last. Which side will emerge victorious? First, let's go to Cacao Island, where fourth son Charlotte Oven is patiently awaiting the arrival of Luffy with an army of some of the most powerful members of the Big Mom family. Next, out at sea, the Thousand Sunny is in a white-knuckling chase against one of the Sweet Commanders, Charlotte Smoothie, along with her sisters, Citron and Cinnamon! And finally, the most intense fight of all is about to reach its conclusion. Charlotte Katakuri, the second son, the Invincible Man, versus Straw Hat Luffy. Luffy wins. Hey everybody, Tekking here. Before I go into the introduction, you know, me doing like, hey everyone, it's One Piece. Okay, if you hear a sound coming from behind this curtain, like a Jedi battle or something, just go with it. There's nothing I can do about it, and it's a constant annoyance in my life, but I gotta get this done, so let's go with it. With that being said, hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome to One Piece Chapter 896 review titled The Last Request. I wonder, what is the last request? I wonder, what's your last request? I can imagine at this point a lot of people's request is just, can this arc please end already? You know, not that the arc has been bad, but I think there's a certain point where a lot of people just wanted it to finish up. You know, there's been high points and low points for me. I'll be honest with you though, the last 4 or 5 chapters, I've been coasting rather well. I mean, we're so close to the 900 milestone. Even if Oda didn't plan on it being this long, Oda's probably just like, well, we're so close to 900, just for my OCD's sake, I'll keep it, I'll draw it out for 4 more chapters, even if I have to throw a chapter with Chopper picking his nose at some point in there, we'll get to 900, it'll happen, alright. Well, anyway, the cover page is just, Harujin just hanging out. He's the new captain of the new Giant Warrior Pirates after he left Kalibali Island to, Buggy's dismay. It's kind of weird in a sense, because all the other ones of the cover serials gave us something on what they were doing. You know, like, Bartolomeo's group arrived at that island, you know, the whole thing with, IDO and Blue Gillies, you know, meeting the Long Leg and Long Arm tribes. This one's just basically a Facebook profile picture of Harujin, you know, like, I'm gonna be the new king of the giants. I don't know. All I can imagine here is we might get just other, like, portraits of the other giants that are part of him. I think there's 5 giants total with Harujin included. So we're gonna probably maybe get like, oh, here's this other giant and he's the navigator. Here's this other giant. Maybe he has a devil fruit or all their different powers or weapons or whatever. And, you know, you might think, well, maybe that might be cheap for Oda just to give us that instead of having like an adventure on what they're doing. But the way I look at it is, if that's all we get, that means maybe Oda has something planned for them later on in Elbaf or involving Elbaf in some way, and he doesn't want to spoil it right now, so instead he's just like, you know what, I'll just give you who they are and what their names are and what they look like and what they, you know, what their weapons and how they fight and everything, but we're gonna hold off the main draw of these guys until, like, we get to Elbaf, so we'll see how that goes. So the chapter begins, and it's once again a big time crunch chapter. The chapter begins at 12:28 a.m. and ends at 12:55 a.m., so, you know, Oda's been pretty decent with the real time the past few chapters. I mean, it's his skill to do that. He's not the best, but he's doing a rather good job of it, you know, and as we all know, 1 a.m., that's the meeting time that Luffy has to be there at Cacao and the Straw Hats have to rendezvous, so it's getting really close to this, and it's a big cliffhanger this week, so let's just get to it. We cut over to Cacao Island, where we see one of the, I think it's one of the decuplets that... I think it's one of the decuplets that mentions, like, could Katakuri possibly lose this fight? You know, is there any way he could go down? And one of the other decuplets takes, like, a scythe and just hits him upside the head with the blunt end of it. Like, no way! That's impossible! Brother Katakuri is a man among dinosaurs. He could never lose, you know? And of course, Oven's there as well, and he's the chill one in the group. All of the decuplets are, like, brandishing scythe blades, and they're all ready to go. Everyone's getting their battle gear ready. They were just kind of lounging around, but now we're getting really close to the time. It's only like a half an hour away. So everyone's like, all right, everyone put down the snacks, take out your weapons. It's time to start getting prepared. He might hop out of there a little early. You don't want to be caught off guard with this Straw Hat guy. Trust me. I've heard stories, okay? When people get caught with their pants down in front of Luffy. Right, so, and yeah, you have Oven there who's just chilling out, and he's like, oh, yeah, there's no way that this Straw Hat kid's gonna be able to defeat Brother Katakuri in combat. There's no way that could go down. And Raisin brings up, he's like, yeah, there's no way Katakuri could lose. However, there might be a way Luffy could escape. Luffy could always kidnap Brûlé, who's the key to the mirror world, and he could hide out on another island, and he could pop out at Cacao Island, which is the only mirror here. Like, there's still ways for him to get through this without defeating Katakuri. That's basically what they bring up. But yeah, and they say, oh yeah, well, Brûlé's missing still. They haven't heard from her in a while, and they even bring up, I think one of the decuplets mentions, yeah, Big Sister Brûlé's never been all that bright, you know, so that's fairly accurate. Yeah, that's fairly true. I was going to defend Brûlé. It's like, well, you have to give Brûlé some credit. No, actually, this entire arc has just been her constantly being kidnapped. You know, I feel like she might develop some sort of phobia after this arc is over. That is if Big Mom doesn't just straight up, it's like, okay, that mirror world of yours, that was an advantage at first, but this incident has just proven how much of a detriment your power is. I'm killing you, taking your fruit, and locking it in the freaking basement. And off with her head. You know, it's not against Big Mom to do that. But anyway, we cut over to another section of Cacao Island, often in just an alleyway somewhere, where we see a hooded figure who turns out to be Sanji, smoking a cigarette and chilling out there and basically just waiting for Luffy. He's looking around at this giant crowd of people. Nobody's really noticed his presence yet. There's hundreds of the Big Mom pirates gathering at this island ready to go, and he's like, oh man, you know, there's a lot of people hanging around here. All right, if we're going to be able to... In his master plan that we find out isn't really anything all that extensive. It's just grab Luffy really quick and then get the hell out of there on Rabian. You know, that was their master plan. I don't know if you guys were expecting something a little bit more grandiose, Ocean's 11 kind of deal. It's like, okay, here's what we're going to do, Pudding. You're going to levitate Rabian exactly 100 meters off the ground, all right? We're going to hide in the cloud cover. Then, when Luffy jumps out of the mirror, I'm going to bungee jump down using Nitro as a cord, grab Luffy, and then shoot back up and then get out of there. If you're expecting something like that, no. It's just, they're just chilling out in an alleyway, wearing the cloak of concealment, waiting around for Luffy to pop out. And Sanji's like, we're only going to get one shot at this, alright? So we gotta get ready. Meanwhile, Pudding is hiding on the other side of the alleyway, so Sanji's like, whoa, what are you doing all the way over there? And of course, Pudding is so scared of Sanji, she can't go near him because, you know, her little heart's just gonna explode. And she's off to the side there, and Sanji gets to the point here that he kind of realizes, well, if this plan works out, this might be one of the last times he gets to actually talk to Pudding. So he mentions to Pudding, you know, I'm glad that my fiancé was you. I mean, I know it didn't go out as planned, and Big Mom, it was a whole, you know, thing orchestrated to eliminate me and the other Vinsmokes, but at the end of the day, I could tell you're not a bad person, Pudding, so... You know, I'm kind of glad that we got to know each other and that you're my fiancé. Of course, the way Pudding reacts to this is actually a little bit different than what you might figure. You might think at this point she'll react the same exact way she always would react, and the heart pops out of her eyes, and she's like, oh my god! And then, like, orgasms 50 times and then passes out. But in this instance, it's a little different. We actually get this really kind of tear-jerking scene where she's bawling all three of her eyes out, and she's just sniffling and mucus running down her nose, and she's like, oh my god! And the thing with Pudding, she feels so genuinely bad about what she did. She wants to apologize, but she just, she can't do it. It's like her freaking alternate ego is like, you know, constantly shoving her back in the freaking, she's like, no, you can't apologize, but no, we must! No, we can't! Shut up, Sanji! You know, so this is a serious problem you're dealing with, girl. You still need to see someone after this is over. You know, you might want to get on some level of medication, but for right now, she's just, like, genuinely trying to apologize to Sanji for all the things she said about him, for shooting his sister in the leg, for fucking around with his sister's memories, for trying to kill him. I think that's probably up there too. And all the kindness that Sanji has given her, and none of that she's gotten from her own family and even her own mother. So yeah, a lot of thoughts on Pudding's mind right now. But instead, she basically just kind of compresses it down to this. After Sanji says, you know, thanks for being my fiance, I'm glad I got to know you, Pudding says, you know, hey Sanji, I just have one last request, one last request here. And Sanji's just like, oh, what's your last request? What's going on? And so Pudding takes out her hand, grabs Sanji's cigarette, takes it out of his mouth, and we just cut away after that. Alright, so it's like, what's going on here? Now, at first, I thought this was just like, okay, this is an anti-smoking PSA all of a sudden. 4Kids was right all along! Lollipop Sanji all the way to the all blue, you know? In case you don't know that, or you're blessed enough to not know this, the 4Kids dub of One Piece edited Sanji's cigarette into a lollipop to adhere with, you know, Cartoon Networks and a lot of the standards and practices on the Western airwaves. Can't have a cartoon character smoking a cigarette, not gonna go down. And so here, a lot of people are like, oh, okay, so Pudding's gonna take away the cigarette and ask for Sanji to stop smoking. Or she could easily be just taking the cigarette out just so she could kiss him. I realized that after the point. But you know what, Pudding? You know what? Either way, smoking's bad, kids. Alright, take it from Tekking. If you want to be a cool guy like me, you don't smoke. Yeah, so, you know what, Pudding it's been a roller coaster ride with her, the entire arc. Started off as kind of a sweet, shy, meek little girl helping out the Straw Hats, and then she was a fucking bunt of the highest degree. Damn, screw you, Pudding! But then she was like, oh, but I feel bad for what I did, and then she's like, yandere, tsundere, dairy, you know, whatever, all over the place. And now she's kind of leveled out, and she genuinely is expressing sadness and guilt for all the things she's did to Sanji. And, you know, taking out the cigarette, and I'm like, that's symbolic of something. So you know what, Pudding, you know what? We've met some worse people than you since then, i.e. Flampe. So, you know what? I redact everything I said that was, like, super, super negative. I'm sorry I called you a bunt. I'm sorry I probably asked at some point for you to get, you know, taken down in some very violent way. And for that, I apologize. And, just to prove that I'm sorry about everything I said, I will now give you the official Tekking101 seal of approvement. And you gotta watch, guys. Now, you don't get to see this every day. This is not something I just hand out casually, alright? Yeah. This is happening. This is happening. Oh, yeah. Ba-da-da-da-da, da-da, da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, da-da, da-da, na-na-na-na-na. Ha-ha! Good job, Pudding. Okay, alright, you win the day. Good job. I wonder how many people I've just emotionally scarred for the rest of their... Oh my god, Tekking, no! No, God, no, please, not this! Not this way! Not this way! Right, so now we cut back over to the Mirror World, Ground Zero, where the attacks between Katakuri and Luffy clash, and it is a freaking just disaster scene in this place. I mean, this place is wrecked to, like, the nth degree, alright? Well, anyway... this kind of was confusing at first, you know, how this clash went down. That, of course, was the cliffhanger last time. Like, oh, who won? What happened, you know? So from this one aerial shot, it looks like Katakuri's Dice Mochi, you know, this spiked club of just hockeyed up mochi, smacked into the ground, because you see the cracks forming around it. Like, you know, you smacked into the ground really hard, and now the entire ground's beginning to break apart because of the impact. But then, you cut over to a side shot of Luffy, and the Diced Mochi Club is over Luffy's head, like it's stopped short. And I asked about this on Twitter, and some people were really nice. They gave me even some sketches about what they think happened. And from what I can understand, this is how it went down. It would seem that both attacks connected at roughly the same time. We could definitely see Luffy's King Cobra striking Katakuri right in the center mass, and he's like, whoa, like getting knocked back. However, with Luffy, it's a little bit more difficult to understand, but Luffy is bleeding pretty bad, so it's not like he sidestepped it or anything. I think it's just what happened here is that Katakuri's Diced Mochi hit him, and he just, you know, he's made of rubber and everything, although the elasticity is not quite as good as Bound Man. It's still probably decent. He hit him, and it, boom, bounced back up. But Luffy still got hit by this thing, so he's bleeding pretty bad from the head. He did not dodge this technique. Maybe he hit Katakuri a fraction of a second earlier. And maybe that's why it maybe didn't have as much impact as it should have. You know, Luffy didn't get straight up pounded into the ground like a freaking tent pole, like, right away. So it's like, within like a fraction of a second, Katakuri's Dice Mochi's coming down, and he's like, whoa, gets hit, then he's just like, oh, and he just kind of like taps Luffy. But that tap was good enough to crack the ground apart and damage Luffy, but it wouldn't be as strong as his normal, you know, if he managed to dodge Luffy's attack or whatever. So Luffy retracts his arm, Katakuri's Mochi just kind of disappears, maybe his arm gets retracted as well. Just as this is going on, the entire ground begins to shatter into a crater Luffy then falls in. So the Diced Mochi had to connect with Luffy, which then, you know, bounced him down, and then the force, you know, kinetic energy passed through him and damaged the floor. Because the floor caves in right after Luffy retracts his arm. So, yeah. He falls into a crater. Katakuri's standing there still, like, just kind of like, okay, we good? You know, and then he just, face plants right on the ground, alright? Luffy begins to deflate, the air gets drained out of him, and he goes freaking unconscious, and everything fades to black. Alright, now, that was a pretty, no talking, no internal dialogue, just like, Luffy falls in a crater, and then Katakuri's like, ugh. And then that's that. Alright. So, it's now 12:40 a.m. We cut back to Whole Cake Island, where we see the little, like, I don't know, the group of people that just, I would assume Monte Dor is kind of like organizing all the fleets at once, but here it just looks like he's chilling out on a book sofa. But anyway, he's there, Big News is there, and he's like, big news! I can't wait to make this a big news! And Monte Dor basically grabs him upside the freaking Big Bird collar, and he's like, oh, don't you be thinking you're gonna be making a scoop out of this, freaking bird bastard, there's no way. Here's gonna be your scoop. Freaking Straw Hat Luffy strung up and decapitated at dawn. That's where your freaking story's gonna be. He even gets pretty boisterous here, Monte Dor. He comes right up to Morgan's and he says, you know, even if Goldie Roger, the Pirate King himself, walked through that mirror, he would not be able to escape. And I'm like, alright, well, that's obviously bullshit. Do you think otherwise, Wall? Do you think that the Pirate King himself could be defeated? Oh, you want to go, Wall? You want to go? I'm not punching this. I'm not punching this, the whole thing. A London Bridge is going to come falling down, and I don't have time to fix that. Alright, but anyway, yeah. That's what he says, and Stussy's off to the side, and she's just like, oh, this is so vulgar. No need to go that far now. And we don't really get any more from them. It's just Monte Dor is pretty confident. There's no way. I think Oda's just trying to hammer it in, like, you know, this isn't just a two-bit operation they're putting together here. They really are pulling out all of the stops that they have at their disposal to capture Luffy. So now it's 12:43 a.m. We cut over to Beige's side, where his ship is heading toward Puff Island, although they're not quite getting there yet. And the sail and the mast of his ship is being set on fire by Prometheus, and he's huge, and he's moving sluggish, but he's still catching up, and he seems much bigger than he was. We don't get to see what Big Mom looks like in this chapter, but I can imagine it ain't that pretty. Yeah, I don't think she's gonna be looking like a Victoria's Secret model, okay? I'm imagining next time we see her, I'm seriously gonna consider that Brooke fanfiction. Like, she's gonna look exactly like a skeleton with like a thin layer of skin that's like paper thin next time we see her, alright? But maybe it's gonna be too extreme, too seinen to be shown in a shonen manga anymore. Oda's gonna have to blur her out. But anyway, we see Beige there, and he's like, no, But no, Beige's there, and he's like, all of his crewmates, or all the Fire Tank pirates are telling him, Father, we have to just dump the cake now and leave. There's nothing we can do. We can't make it to Puff Island. But Father's just like, you know, we gotta stay together. We gotta do this, men. You know, kind of channeling Luffy a little bit there. Come on, guys, we can do this. We're Nakama! And everyone's just like, Father! I don't know if it's either a scream of endearment, like, yes, Father, we can do this, or if it's a scream of sheer terror, like, Father, no, please, we gotta leave. But take that whatever you will. So we cut back over to the Sunny. It's 12:45 a.m. They're still being pursued by Smoothie in the group. Not really much here. They're just kind of wondering exactly how Luffy is going to actually get out of the mirror world, and they're talking about the same options with Brule, and they're thinking, I don't know, is Luffy that clever to do that, or, you know, get a hold of Brule and find a way out? I don't know. It's kind of a gamble on that one. So now we cut over to 12:47 a.m. and remember, this was about 10 minutes since Luffy and Katakuri fell. I think it was like 12:37 when they, you know, Luffy fell in the crater and Katakuri collapsed. So 10 minutes to regain Luffy's haki. That's already been established in Dressrosa. You think it would take a little bit longer given the beating Luffy's been. And like, listen, guys, seriously, I mean, this fight's been going on for a long time. I think something like 16, 17 chapters they've been fighting, or something close to that, all right? You know, and this is up there in one of, like, the toughest battles of Luffy's entire pirate career. Alright, like, one of the toughest ones. Now, when I say the toughest battles, I'm not talking about, like, when he fought against the admirals, because that was, like, like, when he fought against Aokiji, that wasn't even a fight. That was just a slaughter. Same thing when he confronted all three admirals at Marineford, or when he used Gum Gum Balloon against Sengoku's Buddha Fist. Now, those weren't fights, okay? I'm talking, like, a straight-up brawl, the sheer length of a fight, the amount of battle damage he took, mental exhaustion, use of haki, same with his opponent, that kind of, like, long, just drawn out like fisticuff. That long, drawn-out, just like fisticuffs thing, you know? This is one of the toughest ones he's ever had. Magellan, I don't know if you even want to consider that a real fight, because he put up a fight for a little while with Magellan before he just passed out from the poison, so I don't even know where you want to quantify that. But, you know, you have his fight with Lucci, Crocodile, Eneru. None of those fights lasted not even as long, like half as long as this fight with Katakuri, alright? So it's been a pretty intense brawl. Luffy, you know, he's in the crater, he regains use of his body, can move, stretches his arm, gets out of the crater, bounces out, and he's just kind of crawling on the ground, shambling. He can barely freaking move, probably can barely freaking see, probably got blood vessels burst, one of his eyes is swollen shut, he's like, okay. I imagine, like, the whole mirror world is just silent, just quiet, just like a... When he's getting up, he's like, okay, alright, I gotta get to Cacao Island by 1. Gotta get what time is it? And he's falling on the ground, he's crawling. It looks bad, guys. And then he kind of like, this kind of glances up, he's like, what time is it? And Katakuri is looming over him. Now keep in mind, Katakuri is like a really tall dude. Katakuri is like 17 feet tall or something like that, like 2-3 meters. He's a tall dude. And he's just kind of looming down, staring in front of Luffy, and Luffy's like crawling. And for a second there, like, all you think Katakuri has to do is just like hockey up his boot and just and then the gum on his shoe. But no, he's staring down at Luffy, and he's freaking exasperated to can barely freaking stand up. He's just like, someday you're gonna come back here. You're gonna defeat Big Mom, aren't you? And Luffy's just like, of course, even in times of absolute just mental and physical drain, he could be like, of course, because I'm gonna be king of the pirates, you know? And Katakuri's like, hey, you're looking pretty far into the future there, aren't you, kid? And then it's like, just, I can imagine from Luffy's perspective, this is just like a sequoia tree falling, you know, like, just like a... And he just, boom, and just slams into the ground. The invincible man, Charlotte Katakuri, he who is the man that will never lie on his back, even though we've seen him lying on his back a few times before this, has landed on his back! Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Luffy breaks out his straw hat, does like a Mexican, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, fuck you, Katakuri, I win. Oh god, I'm losing a lot of blood, I need to get out of here. But no, Luffy does not disrespect this man. This man gave him a full fight and gave him due respect, so Luffy's gonna give it back. So he takes off the, I don't even know how it's managed to stay on this entire time, but when Luffy went to go meet Beijing and got his new threads, he put another hat, like a black hat, on top of his straw hat that's just hanging on his neck still over his straw hat. I don't know how that thing has still managed to stay on him. I don't even know how the straw hat manages to stay on him with just like a string over his neck, but whatever. He takes that hat off of his straw hat and kind of just throws it on Katakuri's lifeless body, but he still has a problem. I mean, he's like, alright, Yeah, you stay down, freaking donut man. Love you. Okay, I need to figure out a way out of here. So he's looking around, and then he sees Brûlée up at the top of a ledge. And so Luffy just kind of looks at her and just like, oh, hey, you're Twig. And she's like, I'm Brûlée! And then you see the person carrying Brûlée is actually the mysterious warrior Nazoms. Whoa, it's crazy. Who could that possibly... Oh, it's Peckham's. Oh, okay. I thought for a second. All right, yeah. So Peckham's is, you know, we all knew he was alive. He returned to help out Luffy because of Pedro's sacrifice. He's like, oh, I will always, you know, protect those. You, brother Pedro, risked your life, so I'm going to risk my life for you. But of course, he has to pretend he's somebody else instead of Peckham's, right? The craziest thing about this whole thing, though, Luffy actually knew it was him. Luffy actually looked at him and realized immediately it was Peckham's. Do you know what this... Guys, do you seriously understand what this means? Out of all of the crazy shit we've seen in this fight, Luffy, Gear 4, Snake Man, Observation Haki, Armament Haki, all of Awakened Mochi crap, this is a huge power boost for Luffy beyond any of that we've seen so far, Devil Fruit Haki or otherwise, okay? In this chapter, Luffy has finally unlocked the ultimate ability only known as Common F***ing Sense! Every other opponent, Kaido is done. Kaido, Big Mom, Kainu, they're all done. No one can now stand before Luffy. He has unlocked Common F***ing Sense. Okay, we're good. That's the true power-up right there. But anyway, last scene of the chapter, though, we cut back over to Cacao, and it's 5 minutes before game time. Oven gets up, lights up his freaking gauntlets, heats everything up. You see the decuplets hanging out with all their scythe blades. Some of them are hanging off the freaking mirror with the scythe blades ready to go. Like, the second Luffy steps his, like, peeks his head out, they lop it off with the freaking blades. Raisin takes out his sword. Everybody's getting ready to go. Everybody have their weapons ready. He'll appear within the next 5 minutes. Now come out. Straw Hat Luffy. Guns of cannons pointed right at the damn mirror. I'm sorry. You guys can't do it. You guys just can't do it. Alright? Luffy's unlocked common sense. He now knows what's coming. Just like anyone else would. That's the scary thing. So, you know, at this point, you know, there's a few things they could do. I mean, Peckham's has that turtle fruit. He could just, like, turtle up and then, you know, use Brûlée as a human shield to absorb most of the major gunfire. And then, you know, just, Brûlée gets shot and then he protects Luffy with his shell and then Sanji shows up, grabs them, and then they fly away. I mean... It kind of sucks, but that's probably most likely what's going to happen. I kind of wish Katakuri would be the one to help out, which, hey, maybe he might still. Who knows? I mean, he had enough energy to get up the first time, so he might get up again. Who knows? He has about as much redonkulous willpower and abilities as Luffy does. I mean, it was a pretty even match. So, yeah, he might be able to still help out, but that's the end, and that was pretty intense. Relatively kind of a short chapter, if you really think about it. I think maybe a lot of people were maybe confused about how the clash between Katakuri and Luffy went, but I still think, yeah, they both got hit. It's just, you know, Luffy was able to hit him first, and that really was the deciding blow. Katakuri's last words, you know, before he passes out, like, oh, you're gonna come back and defeat Big Mom, Luffy admits that yes, so hey, maybe we might have another arc where we return to Totland at some point. Don't really know how that would work out, but that's probably much, even as Katakuri said, you're looking way far into the future there. We're probably several, like half a decade or so out from maybe that, so just keep in mind how this place looks. We might be seeing it again later on in the story. Who knows? Or maybe Big Mom will go and they'll defeat her at some other location. But yeah, that's that. That's the chapter. So next time, I'm excited. I hope we get right into it on how Luffy's going to escape the mirror and the thing with Brûlée and Nekoms, you know, and Sanji and Pudding. What was Pudding going to do with Sanji? Was she just giving him an anti-smoking message? Because there's never been like a moment in the story where it's like Sanji lights up a cigarette and then Pudding was like, oh, that's disgusting, or cough, cough. It was something like that maybe, but no, I think it's like Pudding really wants to kiss Sanji. She's like, come on, it's the last time I'm gonna see you. I really just want to kiss you and let my feelings be known. Or maybe she has like an ability called like flashback kiss. So, like, it's a flashback fill, but when you kiss someone, you can impart all of your memories onto them, and so Sanji will know, even though Pudding can't actually say it. That actually makes sense. She can't say it, so she'll use her memory fruit to tell Sanji what she's feeling. That, I think, makes sense that she would do that, and she would kiss him, and Sanji would immediately know, like, okay, I see what you mean now. Okay, I get you. And then maybe you kiss them back, and then they would leave. Something like that. But anyway, what do you guys think of this chapter? Comment below. Let me know what you think on how It's not even a real cigarette. Let me know what you guys think below on how Luffy's gonna get out of this one, guys. Alright, Tekking101 signing out. See you guys.